Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Words, Images, and Worlds. I'm joined on this episode by author and artist Victoria Ying. Victoria, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, my pleasure, my pleasure. Those of you that get to enjoy the video version of this will note that Victoria is a very organized person. I'm impressed with the organization of the space. But that's just a side note. We're here to talk about the work that you've done, the work that you're doing. You have a book coming out this week. As of this episode dropping, it will be the very same week. So I'd like to start off. We'll talk a little bit about the book, but I'd like to start off by asking you about your journey to comics. What drew you to comics initially?
Well, so I am a millennial, so I grew up with waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning to watch Sailor Moon.
Mhm.
And I just loved the story. I love the art. There was so much about it that was just so wonderful to me. And then I discovered that there were comics to go along with them. So I visited my very first comic book store in my hometown, and they actually had a pretty decent selection of manga, considering it was like the early 2000s. So I went there and I bought a bunch of the Sailor Moon comics, but I also discovered a bunch of other comics. I started getting really into like Marvel stuff, like Deadpool, but also like other different types of stories in manga, like horror and comedies and shonen manga. So yeah, that was really my first introduction to comics.
Awesome. And so I know you for a couple of different books, and I know you have a Shang-Chi book on the way as well.
Mhm.
Is that right?
Yeah,
You
October 3rd, I'm working with Marvel and Scholastic on a middle grade Shang-Chi story.
looking forward to that. As I was gathering materials for our talk today, I noticed that was on the horizon. So looking forward to that. You have I wouldn't necessarily call it the City series, but City of
Mhm.
Secrets, City of Illusions, both of which have a really strong visual appeal. They're creative texts. Anything that you'd like to share with readers and listeners about those?
Yeah, so I fell off of reading and I didn't write for a really long time because I just thought that I wanted to like draw. And when I rediscovered reading fiction, fantasy was one of the things that just got me really back into the love of prose. And so I wrote City of Secrets and City of Illusion as kind of a love letter to those stories, and they're very different than Hungry Ghost. But
Yes,
I
yes.
feel like, yeah, I feel like I have a lot of different parts of me and a lot of different stories that I want to tell. So I feel very blessed to have been able to write both a like steampunk fantasy, like the City series, but also a grounded YA issues book like Hungry Ghost.
Yeah, they're very creative, very colorful and engaging, and I'm also a fan of the steampunk genre. So, and I like to
Yeah.
see art authors and artists do different types of work for different audiences.
Hmm.
So that sort of brings us to Hungry Ghost, which is more of a young adult oriented book. Not that adults that are not young
Hmm.
wouldn't necessarily enjoy it. My high school students probably don't think I'm very young, and I enjoyed it. But a different sort of book from the city books. Um, and I know that there are some issues that are also part of it, some very relevant world issues and issues for young adult readers. So what would you expand on with that? I don't want to give anything away at the same time.
Yeah.
I love it. So
Yeah.
mhm.
So it's a story about a young teen who is dealing with having an eating disorder, but also like coming to terms with what that means, and body image and friendship and family. And it's a very complicated story that is based a lot on my own experiences. I really wanted to tell a story from a different cultural point of view because I think that as someone who I kind of like had to self-diagnose before I could actually seek help. And a lot of what I did was I read a lot of recovery memoirs and a lot of movies and stuff like that about eating disorders, and I just felt like they didn't really reflect my experience. And so I really wanted to show something that had a little bit of that complexity, so then other teens who are going through something similar won't feel quite so alone.
And the book's really powerful for that. And I love the graphic memoir idea,
Hmm.
and the approach that you take with it. When I first saw the cover, I saw it as a review copy, and I immediately thought, well, this will be a book that will be engaging, and it'll be something that I definitely want to read. Stylistically, also different from
Hmm.
the city book. So I was also going to ask about your creative process a little bit.
Yeah, so I actually came from animation before I was in comics. I fell in love with comics first, and that's the thing that got me into drawing and really into creating. But I decided in college actually to pursue film and television just because the industry, like I live in LA, so like that industry was a lot bigger, and that was definitely something that seemed like a very viable career.
Hmm.
So having a background in animation, I learned, the process for art direction pretty early on. And I wanted all of my books to have that too, that they each had their own unique art direction because they are so different that not only did I want it to be, different story wise, but I also wanted to like look different. So then people who are approaching my books, if they know my work from before, already immediately off the bat know that this is a different book. This is a very different story. But at the same time, like I can only do so much with that because I'm a person. And so, my
Yeah.
hand still kind of comes through in it. But yeah, my creative process, especially for these different books, is that I love to make sure that the art matches the style of the story. So I spend a lot of time exploring early on, like what kinds of brushes, what the colors are going to be, what the final look is going to be before I ever really settle in on the final. So I always try to experiment, and I do a bunch of different things. Most of my inking is done digitally because I'm just very comfortable with that medium and you can change a lot of stuff. So when I do digital work, I will, every sketch, I will be like, okay, I'm going to try it with this pen and then this brush for color and, whatever. So that way I have like a bunch of different experiments. So then at the end of it, I can look at all of those and be like, okay, actually, this is the one that suits the story that I want to tell. I also like I'm a big advocate of saving yourself as much time as possible. So I do use 3D models in my work and draw over them. So a big part of my finding my style is also like which style is going to suit my shortcuts as much as possible. So yeah, that was a big factor as well.
Do I look like a force ghost to you at the
Yeah.
moment? That's strange. I think it must be something with the signal, or maybe my digital background is messing up a little bit. But this is the first interview that I've been in where I've become a force ghost.
Yeah.
So it's exciting. I'm going to embrace it for people that are enjoying the video portion.
Hey, we're talking about different styles, and now you are in a different style.
Exactly. And to be honest with you, I mean, that's a first, but something about it's probably your creative energy is what it is. I've just help me, Obi-Wan. Hold on
Yeah.
just a second. Let's see. Nope, that didn't fix it. Nope, that didn't fix it. So yeah, we'll just go with that. And
Okay.
I am a Star Wars fan, so I'll
There you
embrace
go.
it. Yeah. So I do appreciate your work. I appreciate the relevance of Hungry Ghost, and it's coming out once more. I want to say that again this week, from First Second, and you have
Mhm.
Shang-Chi on the way. Any spaces that listeners and viewers should go to check out more about your work? Any other pieces about the books that you'd like to share, or anything about upcoming works?
Yeah, so you can find me online through most of the social media outlets, just at my name, at Victoria Ying. I am on TikTok as Art of Victoria Ying. I'm trying to be better about posting videos, but I'm an elder millennial, so it's still escaping me a little bit. Um, in terms of future upcoming work, I am currently working on a middle grade adaptation that I can't really talk about yet, but is very exciting. And with one of my former collaborators who I have a great working relationship with, and also the follow up to Hungry Ghost, which is not a sequel, but is a spiritual successor in the sense that it is another YA contemporary that is going to be based very much on my experiences. And it's going to be about my experience as a young teen online in the early days of the internet, trying to be an artist and meeting some potentially inappropriate people.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, very cool. Very cool. Um, So wonderful to hear that there's more on the way. And did we cover everything? Was there anything that we missed along the journey?
Yeah, no, I think that that's good. Shang-Chi comes out October 3rd. Hungry Ghost is out April 25th. So yeah, I'm really happy to have two books out this year, and they're going to be very different from each other once again.
Yeah, absolutely. And teachers, readers, school librarians, you will want to add Hungry Ghosts to your collection as well as the city books and no doubt Shang-Chi. So just going to throw that out there. Really, really beautiful work, entertaining, and also, especially with the Hungry Ghost, also very relevant and just a great way, as Victoria said, for teens to know that they are not alone, and adult readers can enjoy it too. So I'm just going to say, you want to buy this book. Maybe the Force Ghost sort of has that effect. You want to buy this book. You want to put this in your library. So yeah, thank you for joining me, and happy reading, everyone. And please do check out Victoria's work.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.